The RTX 4070 launched, and nobody wants it. Valve is fixing the biggest problem with the Steam Deck, and get ready for AMD's Morpheus. Let's get into the hot news, everybody. I'm your Brett host. We're going to be going over the hottest tech news I can find on the internet while you enjoy your breakfast this Friday, April 14th, 2023. And we're going to start off today talking about yesterday's RTX 4070 launch. It was a special day for me because I actually got to live stream our trip over to Micro Center. It was a ton of fun. Kyler and I had a great time. We were able to pick up an RTX 4070 that we gave away to one of you. It was a great time had all around by us. However, with the 4070 launching yesterday, it turns out that, at least according to some reports, there's plenty of stock. No shortage of RTX 4070s at MSRP. Early GeForce RTX 4070 availability appears strong unless you want a Founders Edition. And given our experience at being at Micro Center, nobody is buying this graphics card. There's going to be a lot of speculation, but based on the stock amount and the amount of hype that we've seen surrounding this card, it appears that this might be a dud of a GPU for Nvidia. We've gone to several launches now at Micro Center. The RTX 4090 had at least a dozen people waiting as soon as the doors opened. The 7950X3D had roughly 6 to 10 at our specific Micro Center. The 7800X3D launch last week had over a dozen. Us showing up right before the doors open made me worried we weren't even going to be able to get one. We stayed out all night for the RTX 4070. Not a single soul showed up until 4 minutes before Micro Center opened for the 4070. And he was the only other person that joined us in purchasing that graphics card. I did it for my business because I need to review it, and we wanted to give one away. He wanted to upgrade from his 3060 Ti in order to play Hitman 3 and Red Dead Redemption 2, but it did seem like there was a lot of fanfare built up to this, but gamers as a whole might be rejecting this GPU from Nvidia considering its $600 price point. It does seem like a lot of people are just saying no. Micro Center, at least our specific Columbus location, has still availability of essentially every GPU that they launched with. If you go on over to Amazon, they're in stock. You can buy them. If you go on over to Newegg, again, they're in stock. You can buy them. You go on over to Best Buy. The only one not in stock is the Founders Edition, and then I believe the white Gigabyte Aero card. It appears that either there is so much stock that Nvidia decided to drown us gamers with the beauty of the 4070, or it looks like consumers are coming to their senses. They decided that $600 for a 70 class card is absolutely insane. They would rather buy something like an AMD card or even buy the last generation GPUs that might give them a little bit more oomph, because this doesn't appear to be it. Let me know if you bought a 4070 yesterday or know anybody that did, anybody who's upgrading to it. The person who won the giveaway for the 4070 is upgrading from a Kepler Quadro card, so a massive upgrade for them. I'm actually really excited the fact that it's going to somebody who's held on to their GPU for so long. But Nvidia is trying to put out some press details being like, hey, gamers are using our technology. RTX is great, with them showing off that at least 83% of gamers who have a 40 series card have turned ray tracing on, and 79% have turned DLSS on, compared to 37 and 26% from the 20 series card. They also showed off the 30 series information, 56% turned ray tracing on and 71% turned DLSS on, showing that gamers on a whole have been enjoying more and more DLSS, which this just makes sense. Ray tracing, when it first came out, was available in Battlefield and it was bad, and then Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and that got implemented months after the game had launched on PC. We're finally at the place with games like Cyberpunk and The Witcher where ray tracing is being implemented, and it makes a lot of sense to turn RTX on. DLSS has only gotten better. DLSS 2 is much better than it was in DLSS 1, despite the fact that AMD's come out with competing technology turning it on. I'm just curious, with this 83% who have turned it on, are they using it or did they just try it out? And then also, how does Nvidia have this data? Is it from GeForce Experience if you're installing that, or are they getting it if you install their drivers? I'm really curious how they're collecting this data. But they also revealed that 40 series gamers have a 144 hertz monitor 62% of the time, and only 28% of 40 series gamers game at 4K, which is absolutely quite intriguing considering all of the hubbub that's been surrounding VRAM recently when it comes to 4K performance. AMD put out that press release saying that don't buy the 4070 because it doesn't have enough VRAM. If 28% of people who bought the 40 series, which when Nvidia published this was the $900 to $1,600 card. If only 28% are on 4K, no wonder Nvidia doesn't give a crap about VRAM. People aren't using it. They're not using it for 4K. They're using it for 1440p, 144 hertz, and 12 gigabytes might just be enough. But AMD thinks that's not enough, because in a direct retribution to the 4070 launching yesterday, they lowered the price on their RX 6800, their previous generation. At least that's what Tom's Hardware makes it seem like. This is an intentional drop by AMD in retaliation to the launch. It does seem like it could just be a normal sales price. I'm not 100% sure on this detail, but it does look like AMD is dropping the price of their 6000 series across the board. They're still producing these cards, which is nice, but the 6800 can be found for $470 with The Last of Us being included to knock it down to close to $410. The 6800 XT is around $540 to $560, putting it quite in line with where the 4070 is launching. But most importantly, a thing like the 6950 XT, this ASRock Phantom Gaming, $629 with a $20 promo code to put it at $610. Why would you get the 4070 if you're not using Nvidia's features when AMD exists? That's going to be the hard question to answer for people, and I don't know, it looks like the 4070 might be a flop. Sound off on your thoughts about all of this down below in the comments while Reece brings you the hottest tech deals out on the internet.
Yo, welcome back to UFD Deals, bringing the hottest tech deals out on the internet, where I give you deals and live vicariously through your purchases. First up, we have the EPOS GSP 370 wireless gaming headset, featuring a closed-back design, 100-hour battery life, and one of the best microphones I've heard on a headset. It recently dropped a further $20 to be $79.99, which is $120 off. And then next up, we have the AMD Ryzen 5 5600X. The 6-core 12-thread CPU is currently going for only $157.59, which makes it 49% off. Just shy of 50, but still a good deal. And then a special post thanks to our friends and channel sponsors Jawa. I decided to see if I could find something under $500 that I could recommend to you guys, because I knew it could be done. And after a bit of searching, I found this ice cold deal from Reboot PCs, featuring an AMD Ryzen 5 3600 6-core CPU, an ASRock A520M motherboard, 16 gigs of HyperX DDR4 running at 3200 MHz, and a Radeon RX 5900 graphics card. Paired up with that solid base is a 512 gig M.2 NVMe SSD from Team Group, a 500 watt 80 plus bronze NMAX power supply, all fit in a GameMax Abyss H605 mini case. Considering that this build comes in at under $100 cheaper than a lot of the 580 builds and still features a semi-modern CPU, I think it's a solid recommendation. I think the only thing that I can knock about it is the fact that it's single channel RAM, but you know, there was a recent UFD Deals $67, $68 range that might be able to help you with that. I think this is a great place to start if you're getting back into PC or thinking of getting someone into it, but be sure to check out Jawa's website for more custom PC builds. You can find the links to these and more in the video description down below, but until next time, I'm gonna hand you off back to Brad for the rest of your hot news. Cheers.
Thank you, Reece, but a deal I know you're not gonna have is the Razer Stream Controller X, which Razer finally launched yesterday. This is essentially their Stream Deck clone. It has 15 buttons for you to be able to control macro stuff on your PC. It's going to come in line with the pricing that you can see on the Elgato Stream Deck for $150. It just seems like a Razer option. They're calling it Switchblade buttons instead. I can't really find a substantive difference between the Controller X and the Stream Deck, besides the fact that you might have to use Razer software, which I do not like as much as Elgato software. If you know of a bigger difference, let me know down below in the comments. But Valve really wants to make a big difference when it comes to the Steam Deck, because they are working to cut the shader cache sizes on Steam Deck in half. They have found a way to use their open source video driver, combine it with a Vulkan pipeline, which sounds complicated, but essentially what it's going to mean is that these shader cache files that the Steam Deck has to compile every time you're playing a game can be reduced by up to 60%. And especially when these cache files can be many gigabytes, you're losing out on a lot of storage to these cache files that could otherwise be devoted to installing more video games on your portable handheld system. So it looks like this should come out sometime in early May, but Valve making it so that you can actually have more space freely available. It should take up less space. Not every game is going to see this improvement, but it's good to see that Valve is still actively working to make the Steam Deck better and better as every day goes on, which is what AMD is trying to do for your CPU, because we're getting details out about the upcoming Zen 6 Morpheus CPUs. This is thanks to an engineer accidentally posting on their LinkedIn profile that they are working on all of the details for Zen 4, Zen 5, and Zen 6, with Zen 4 being Persephone, Zen 5 being called Nirvana, and now Zen 6 being called Morpheus. This is the first time that we're actually hearing about Morpheus in regard to Zen 6. It also gives us some good information that we are looking to have it on the 2nm process over at TSMC, which is going to be competing with Intel's 18A node, which they just announced. We talked about this in yesterday's episode of Hot News, their partnership with ARM to bring Intel's foundry services to 18A to a whole bunch of different stuff. TSMC is going to be implementing that on Zen 6. We're also expecting that there's going to be a hybrid architecture similar to what Intel has, where you're going to have big and little cores on Zen 6. Potentially Zen 6 are the big cores, and then Zen 5C are going to be the little cores. We're expecting that this should come out sometime in 2025 because AMD's current roadmap puts Zen 5 towards the end of 2024. That's essentially what we're expecting for the Ryzen 9000 series. We're still waiting on a lot more detail. We did just recently get the first information surrounding Zen 5 from Jim Keller over at TensTorrent, being a very reliable source talking about the information that he has on that CPU. It does look like AMD has some big performance uplifts coming for us towards the end of this year or early next year with Zen 5. Zen 6 might just be a reiteration of that, bringing it even more optimized. I'm excited to see where AMD's going. Intel's made the big little architecture work. I want to see what AMD has to implement it with. Morpheus, get ready for it. And you get ready to enjoy your weekend without me, because I'll be back here on Monday with more of the hottest tech news out on the internet right for your eyeballs.